I definitely think that there's a growing need, right, for teaching people the controversial topics of health and fitness, right? I feel like we fall into this misconception of people trying to just figure things out on their own. Really, they kind of just look on YouTube, right, or Instagram, and they try and find the coolest new movements when in reality everybody's a little bit different, right?
Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game. You're live.
Let's go.
So let's do it. Last week on the podcast, Ryan and I mentioned a big announcement coming up. And the big announcement is today, Jonny, Coach J Ram Fit, Jonny Ramirez. He is not just a guest today, but the newest member of the Iron Summit podcast and Iron Summit fitness community alongside Ryan and myself. Some of you, if you listen to previous podcasts, may remember we did podcasts with Jonny. If you want to do a full in-depth dive on Jonny's background, kind of who he is, about him, go listen to episode 33. If not, you'll definitely get to know him over the next few podcasts. But quick overview of Jonny is the founder, owner, head coach of Evolved Fitness, and just an overall great culture fit with Ryan and I, being most importantly, being a serious meathead and loving lifting. He's also an excellent resource on nutrition, really anything, even lifestyle advice for those who are just looking to improve their general health and well-being. And this is really important because at Iron Summit, we've decided over the last several weeks that we wanted to put an emphasis on coaching and training individuals. And we'll get into a little bit more specifics on who that is. But with the expansion of that coaching, Ryan and I decided we need to bring on someone who has a lot of experience in coaching and can help us grow that side of Iron Summit and grow our expertise on that side. So, Jonny, welcome to the team.
Awesome. Happy to be here, guys, and definitely excited as we focus on pushing some health and nutrition forward a little bit into our specific demographic. And I definitely think that us expanding some of these services will definitely help us grow our community, as well as invest into a lot of these men out here who need to really improve their health and their well-being.
Yeah, heck yeah, Jonny. Super pumped to have you on, man. Obviously, number one reason you're a great dude and meathead, but also other thing I was thinking about, and obviously a wealth of knowledge with this stuff too. Dude, we got to get you like a Ram sponsorship or something. J Ram driving a Ram. I feel like that's just the next natural progression here. So what do you drive a Ram?
I don't drive a Ram. I'm
a big missed opportunity, dude.
Yeah, I know. Missed opportunity. Lots of sponsorship there, right?
That's awesome.
Jonny doesn't drive a Ram because if he drove a truck, it'd be a Ford because he's cool.
So
yeah, you like Max's F-250, that's for sure.
Max, they say found on road dead. I drove a Ford for the last 2 years, but I don't really have a side, but I don't understand the hate from both sides.
No, I know. It's really any truck is cool. And hey, if Ram wants to throw us a sponsorship and give Jonny a truck, I'd be a big Ram fan.
Would not disagree.
All right, let's do it. That's awesome. Jonny, kind of circling back to that, man. Maybe let's talk a little bit about you kind of being on your deathbed the last week or so and why, health is so important. And not to bring up some bad memories and stuff, but talk us through what happened last week with all your health stuff.
That means I'm definitely still feeling the the long-term effects of the sickness. That's for sure. It definitely took a toll on me. But definitely opened my eyes. It definitely was one of those things where you can get on a high roll and you're lifting weights, you're eating healthy, and you're lifting every day, and you feel invincible, right? And then all of a sudden it's like you get hit with something like this or something that you never really expected to happen to you, and it really opens your eyes to realizing how important your health and your fitness is, right? It was kind of one of those scary moments where I personally never ever get sick. And so it was one of those things where when I got this, I was really surprised, right? I was just like, holy cow, like this is what they kind of talk about like on the news about people passing away and getting like these crazy infections. And it got to the point where like Max called me and he was like, dude, you sound horrible. He's like, what's going on with you? And I was like, dude, I have no idea what I have. I was like, but I can't keep any fluids down. I can't keep any food down. I was literally like passing up food like every 45, 30 minutes, if that. Like it got to the point where like it was literally just stomach acid for like 24 hours and I couldn't keep anything down. Ended up, having my lovely wife who's a nurse and cared for me and was able to kind of get me an emergency IV there at like 10 p.m. at night. Um, and this guy was just like, holy cow, like if it wasn't for your health and the strong foundation that you have, like this probably could have been worse. Right. And so ended up mentioning that. He actually had somebody who had passed away on him that week, and that it was kind of scary to see like how it can hit people in different ways, especially people who are a little more susceptible to kind of like pre-diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, right? And so it really opens that perspective of like, holy cow, like the only thing that I thought about that weekend was like my friends, my loved ones, and my health. Like that was the only thing that was important to me in that moment. And so it was one of those things where it's just like, damn, like it really is one of those eye-opening things where I think we might chase the wrong things that time and put things that are more important on the back burner, like our health.
Yeah.
So you're bouncing back though, but this was pretty legit. They like basically it was some kind of really bad stomach bug, right? Like a norovirus,
Yeah, something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, they supposedly there's like a new COVID strand out there. There's a lot of people getting sick right now. Um, I don't know. I don't
I mean, is that
COVID. I don't, but I definitely think it was some new stomach bug or something out there.
Yeah, can you imagine how bad that would have
it's
been if
bad.
you weren't, like, in good shape and, like, taking care of your
Oh
body
yeah.
and understood what to do? But, yeah, that is scary. It's definitely good you kicked that, but, yeah, never fun to go through that stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Nothing gives you I mean, with injuries, it's a little different. Like I definitely, when I like tore my pec, you really miss training.
Yeah.
But I swear, whenever I get really sick, it gives me like the most appreciation for being healthy.
Yeah.
Dude, that's kinda why I think cutting weight is, like it's very good for like, in a weird way, good for, like, people's health because you're like you realize what's important. You're like, "Oh, I just, like, literally need food and water, like, I'm not worried about, this test coming up or, like, something else." Like, through wrestling, I feel like you learn, like, "Oh, like, a nice glass of water is, like, actually a sweet privilege," and you don't
Oh yeah.
realize it until, like, you don't have water for 24 hours, you know? But, yeah, being sick like that, I'm sure gives you an appreciation for your everyday stuff that you don't think about.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I feel like a lot of people underestimate, like just how I feel like we all in today's industry and then kind of where the fitness industry has kind of gone and kind of with even like that new like YouTube thing, right? Where they're restricting things for like our younger audiences for health and fitness. I feel like we've pushed this image of like, oh, you got to be ripped and have abs and always be lean year round. But in reality, it's like, well, let's take a step back. It's more about how can we have a good base foundation of building enough lean muscle to increase our longevity, right? To increase our well being and our health. So ultimately, that's what's important, right? Yeah, like looking big and jacked and tan all the time. That's awesome. I'll take that any day, right? But at the end of the day, it's that base foundation of like, how am I being able to handle these daily obstacles, right? Where I don't have high blood sugar, I don't have high blood pressure, I don't have high cholesterol, right? And I can go into my 50s, 40s, 60s and live a higher quality life because of it.
That's right. And when you are, I was thinking about this the other day, actually, like when you're in good shape, you have like a good cardiovascular base, you have some lean muscle mass, you eat healthy. Then one of these things that do like you get a norovirus or you tear your pec, or like I was thinking about in the context of Alexis, who's 28 weeks pregnant, she's going to give birth. Like that's a pretty big health event. You just bounce back way quicker because you have this underlying base. And there's so many things, so many health markers that are, it's just so solidified in science now that like just consistent resistance training and some cardio goes a long way.
Yeah. Like,
You don't have to look like Ryan year
stop.
round. Right?
I think building resilience is always good. And I think in today's society, it's really good to have, things like fitness and sports to like have that structure to struggle without it being, like life or death. You're running from a saber-toothed tiger. And yeah, no, I 100% agree. Do the hard things and you choose to do the hard things, and then the easier, like the hard parts of life are easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Max, I saw you sprint the other day, man. Are you training for that half marathon?
Few words that you said there was sprinting. It was, yes, I am sprinting right now. Coach Miller, who Jonny has worked with, and Miller's the man. But in my program right now, the idea is to develop not just, I'm coming back from the pec injury, so getting my upper body size back, not really strength training yet, not getting strong again yet, just getting size back, training legs a month, but also sprinting. And there's really two aspects of that. One is it's great cardio, but also when you sprint, like your soft tissue just stays a little healthier, and you can work, especially in your legs, certain parts of your legs, you really can't work any other way. And if you're sprinting, not running marathons, Ryan, but you're sprinting, you can actually grow your legs through doing so.
Absolutely. Dude, also going up a hill, you like can't physically go as fast. So like, I think there's a much less injury risk doing it up a hill, because you put just as much force, and like it's hard on your muscles, your cardiovascular system. But yeah, if you're gonna be sprinting stuff, you definitely gotta make sure you're warming up, because I think that's how you're not you, but a 45-year-old guy that's like, hey, I'm gonna run a 40, and then pulls a hammy right away.
Oh, definitely me too. I'm warming up good. I have a whole warm up progression I go through that Miller has me doing. It's like a bunch of plyometrics, dynamic stuff to get ready. Like the sprinting is actually, the workout's probably about like half an hour, and the sprinting is just like 30 yards, and it's tempo runs actually. So it's like explosive for 10 yards and then just carry it out for the last 20. It's only like five sprints at the end. So really most of the sprint work is in like the plyometrics and dynamic stuff I'm doing leading up to that.
Nice.
Yeah. Jonny, when are you starting your sprinting?
I don't know, man. But I will tell you what, I actually, it's kind of funny because you're supposed to do what you tell your clients to do, right? I actually have some clients that are athletes, specifically one who's a soccer player, and he's just dealing with a hamstring injury, and always kind of has that nagging pain there, right? And he keeps kind of re-injuring it, right? And so a lot of people think that it's just one of those things where, oh, like you injure something and you're just supposed to like rest and lay in bed all the time. Far from the truth. Movement is medicine. A lot of people don't understand that sprints, plyometrics, doing agility work is definitely key in recovery. And it's one of those things where you're not lifting like a bodybuilder all the time. And I think we can kind of see like some misconceptions sometimes where people think that they always have to be in a hypertrophy based program. And then they kind of forget that there's other phases of training, right? And things that they have to focus on to really have a fully encompassed training program.
That's a great point. It's even like I think it's what people don't really get is even like best bodybuilders, if you want to go to just straight to physique athletes, don't train hypertrophy year round.
Yeah.
And some of the like I know the most extreme, like I know Lebroni used to take like 4 months off after the Olympia and not train at all. Lose like 50 pounds and then get it all back. Now there's PEDs involved.
Big disclaimer there.
Yeah. But that being said, like it is possible. I know Chris Bumstead takes like a month off after every Olympia, doesn't touch a weight, doesn't work out. Like, I mean, Jonny, we were talking about this a little bit. They're getting sick. My pec stuff, I'm sure it's happening to you, Ryan. Like usually I end up having to take forced deloads because AKA getting sick or injured because I don't put enough planning into the downtime and the phases of training. Or I don't like doing it. Maybe that's a better way to do it. But yeah, that's a good point. You got to have the different phases. Sometimes you got to have planned downtime.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people I've heard talk about this where it's like, for most people, you want to you don't need to plan a deload because life will kind of happen and you'll have a planned deload. And then you got to know your clients where it's like, hey, this person's going to kill themselves. So they're either going to get hurt or you should plan some deloads for them so that they don't have to go through that, recovery process.
Yeah, exactly. When was the last time you did a deload, Ryan?
Probably on honeymoon.
There you go.
So you didn't work out?
A little bit. Like it would be, little.
I'm not criticizing.
No, I know. But it'd be like gym workouts in like a hotel gym where there's not a squat rack or something, like lighter 45-minute things, maybe it was every 2 days or something, or going on a hike that day or surfing or something, like that. That was probably the last time I did that. Other than, I guess, when I had my ankle, that was kind of a forced deload when I couldn't walk for a month.
Yeah. You were lifting upper body like 3 days after
Dude,
that.
I had no excuse to not bench like 3 days a week. It was sweet.
That's the way to go. 3 days a week. Also, speaking of which, Ryan, how close are you to 200 pounds?
That's a good point. Once I hit that, you're both doing half marathon now? Because I found out recently that Jonny might hate running more than you, Max. I don't know. I got to check, man. I do. I just started, helping out with wrestling again. And so I'm wrestling a little more. So I probably got to bump the calories a little bit.
What, like 2 times a week?
Like
2-3 times a week?
Yeah. Nothing crazy, but
yeah. We need to know how close you are to 200.
We'll do a weight check on the 28th.
Okay. Yeah, we got an accurate scale.
I got 2 weeks to really, put it on.
So yeah, you got some motivation now.
I'm definitely a little bigger. I definitely put on a couple pounds.
Yeah. We got on the 28th, we're going to do a lift with Jonny, Max, and Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Up and down barbell.
Boom.
Check Ryan's weight.
We'll have him do a weigh-in that same morning.
Dude, I will drink 1.5 gallons and just be peeing the whole workout.
Just no cheating. No cheating.
Yeah, but no, that's awesome. I guess maybe let's talk a little bit more about kind of what we're got coming out here in a couple weeks and what we're starting to do in terms of, I think Jonny, huge fit with you is like you've done this a lot. Max and I have been, we have some programs out there and then, have some clients and stuff, but I think just really being able to add your knowledge to the team and then your capacity for, being able to build up our capacity with more people. Yeah. Do you guys who wants to take the lead on that?
Yeah. Well, let's let Jonny do it. Johnny's and we brought him on to help with this stuff.
Yeah.
So far been the mastermind on kind of where we're going. So hit it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely think that there's a growing need, right, for teaching people the controversial topics of health and fitness, right? I feel like we fall into this misconception of people trying to just figure things out on their own. Really, they kind of just look on YouTube, right, or Instagram, and they try and find the coolest new movements when in reality, everybody's a little bit different, right? And so that's where we want to bring a component of providing one-on-one coaching for clients through Iron Summit, specifically working right with males 23 to 60 years old who are looking to really optimize their health and physique. Maybe they were former athletes, maybe they're current athletes, and overall really helping that demographic, right? It seems like within the demographic of males, we tend to put our health on the back burner, right? Because other things can take place, such as a family role, right? Obviously working to provide for family. And so we really want to open up the community, right, to be able to help these specific demographics, right? To help them kind of find themselves again within their health and their fitness. And not just that, but also providing kind of a community for people, right? I feel like as Iron Summit continues to grow and we're able to really expand on our health and our nutrition topics with our audience, having a community, right, where people can come and surround themselves with like-minded individuals who are striving for success is always something great. It's kind of like thinking about like having like a Bible study group, right? You fill yourself with other men, with like-minded individuals who are struggling with the same similar things, right? And you guys can kind of guide yourselves and have a place where you guys can come in here, kind of share what you guys are struggling with, and obviously have us as your guiding professionals, right, and helping you with that. So definitely excited, right, to kind of offer some group community coaching here coming soon, as well as some one-on-one individual coaching, right, for those who are really looking for a little more accountability, maybe need a little more hand holding, right, versus just a community based coaching. But definitely something exciting that we got coming.
Yep. That's exactly right. So we'll be putting out some more information on what those packages look like, how we're going to do it. I think I'm excited about the way we're looking at approaching this, and offering kind of, like you said, Johnny, something for everyone. If you want super detailed one-on-one coaching with Ryan, so you can be shredded year round, like Ryan,
Max, stop.
then you can be a Ryan. Hey, maybe I'm just jealous. All right, Ryan.
Max, you are just
Maybe it's
stop.
just jealous.
I heard a rumor that your
No,
physique competing here soon. So I don't know what you're talking about, but it's just what the rumors are. Johnny started it, but it's true.
I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against a physique competition of some kind. I feel like that'd be fun. You know what? The real reason I like putting you on the spot, Ryan, is because it bothers you so much. Ryan hates when I comment
Nah,
on his physique.
all right,
Like,
all right.
the worst thing in the world for him.
Ba-
Most people like that, but Ryan.
Back on topic.
Ryan,
No, I think Johnny nailed that. I think the biggest thing here is like, I don't know, a community aspect is such an important part. I mean, that's kind of why, we all are passionate about this is like, I think this is such a cool journey, but also it's such a fun thing when you have some accountability partners, you have people to bounce ideas off of, and you're able to, I guess, really invest in that. I've never met somebody that's like super successful that doesn't. Okay, maybe there's some outliers, but like most really successful people also really take care of their health, because I think it just bleeds into all aspects of your life. And like we were talking about in the beginning, I think Johnny, you had a recent reminder of this too, is like when you're not healthy, like your body is just, it's all you care about. And so it's like, you got to build your life foundation up. You got to put your own oxygen mask on first. And so we're hoping to help people be, healthier, more fit. And it's been really fun, the journey so far. And we're just excited to keep expanding that and continuing to grow that community.
Definitely.
it's gonna be fun. I like helping people look jacked and feel good.
Max, can I get to 250? Is that possible for me?
Absolutely.
Naturally?
Maybe not. Maybe not. Well, like, and could you get just weigh 250 pounds? Sure. But could you,
No, not
can
stopping.
you, yeah.
So
Okay. Then I think you might need some help.
what about this? Both of you, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think? How much muscle do you think you can naturally put on, like a normal person's body? Like, let's say an average human male is 170 pounds. How much muscle could you put on naturally before you'd kind of hit your upper threshold? Obviously, there's some
Johnny, I'll let you go
variation, but
first.
yeah.
I definitely think that it really is dependent on your structure. I think for myself, right, it was one of those things where if nobody knows my dad. My dad's huge. And it was one of those things where genetics definitely play a role to as far as like how much contractile tissue you can put on, how strong you can get, right? Obviously muscle insertions and different bellies and how your biceps going to look to your neighbors, right? And so I think it really is one of those things where, obviously a bigger human, right? You take somebody who's 6'5", they can definitely weigh, it's normal for them to be 240, 50 pounds normal, right? And carry that amount of mass versus somebody who's like 5'3", right? Being 180 pounds is kind of pushing the limit there, right? It's a lot of weight for their body. But at the same time, we want to think about body composition, right? Because it's one of those things where realistically, the leaner you are, the easier it is for you to put on muscle tissue. And so it's one of those things where it really does depend on genetics. I can't really put a number to it, right? Where I can say like a client comes in, I'm like, oh, I can pinpoint like you're going to put on 50 pounds of muscle with me in a year, right? Depends. Everybody's completely different. Some people really do get the lottery with genetics, right? And they touch weights and they blow up. Like I remember I was in high school and I started squatting and I could naturally squat 350 pounds. And I was just a strong guy. Like leg mass came easy to me. Training came easy to me, but I have clients who training is just hard for them. Like they're not able to put as much muscle on as somebody else. But at the end of the day, right, I think everybody can achieve up to their genetic limit based on kind of like what they're able to predisposition to hit, right? Obviously, Max is an outlier, right? Somebody who has naturally just been a phenomenal athlete, right? Since a young age. Somebody who, if you have never seen a picture of Max wrestling, it's ridiculous. His biceps are just enormous. I even sent him a message the other day. I was like, dude, how were your biceps this big when you were this young? And it's one of those things, right? Where it's like his genetics plays a role, right? Obviously not to discredit hard work, but it is one of those things where some people just might naturally have bigger body parts and hold muscle in different areas compared to other people. And I know that Max, for example, holds a crap load of weight on his chest, his shoulders, his arms, and his legs. And I really don't think there's a
What
weakness
body
on
part
Max.
did you not say in that, Johnny? What body part did you skip?
Roasted.
Roasted, sorry. But I can say the same thing about myself, right? I definitely have average calves, but it is one of those things, right? Where I think we, like for you, Ryan, for example, right? You're able to have such a lean physique and you're able to keep your metabolism in such a high place due to how lean you are, right? Versus somebody like myself who came from being a little bit on the chunkier, heavier side, coming down into losing body fat and then starting to weight lift. It can definitely make a difference, right? And so it's one of those things where, some people are like, oh, like if you're skinny and you have abs, it's not fair because, you already had the abs because you didn't have any body fat, right? But in reality, it's like everybody's built a little bit more and we could dive into like different body types, mesomorphs, endomorphs, ectomorphs, and how each has like their own specific value. And it's even been seen in studies, right? Where different macronutrient ratios can help each body type a little bit better. But long-winded way of saying like you can't really put a number to like how much muscle you can naturally put on. But I think that definitely like looking at somebody's structure in terms of their height and their weight is definitely a good indicator of like, all right, like somebody who's 5'4" might be able to hit like a max cap of like being 180 pounds, like just jacked naturally. Then from there, you start bringing in performance enhancing supplements and things that can really take you to that next level, which obviously we don't advise, but you can see within the bodybuilding industry, right? And that's just pushing the limits of being able to put more muscle on your frame.
That's, I agree with Johnny, like on everything he said. I think like I looked this up because I was curious. I've seen it before. I'll get into a second, but I think the bottom line, Ryan, the answer to your questions, it's like totally genetics based, basically like Johnny said. Like some people can carry a ton of muscle mass. Some people can't. But then I remember I've seen this study because it looked at the steroids and performance enhancing drugs only came out in like the 1940s. And so it's relatively in history, a new thing. So I know they did a bunch of studies on like, what is the maximum fat-free mass index? So it's basically body mass index minus your fat. So it's your BMI less your fat. And they looked at like weightlifters from like over 100 years up to when the creation of performance enhancing drugs, because that threw everything off there. And overall, it was like you could achieve like a 24. So if you do the equation for fat-free mass index, which I have here, but a 24 is like the maximum considered natural fat-free mass index, and fat-free mass index is equal to fat-free mass in kilograms. So it'd be your body fat less, or your total weight less your body fat percentage times your total weight divided by your height in meters. And that gives you your fat-free mass index. So we gotta look up what what all ours are.
Yeah.
See,
There's a ton of calculators out there that people have
yeah,
actually used. I know that John Meadows, um, actually had worked with, I think, Jeff Nippard in, like, a YouTube video I saw a while back, and they did, like, a whole study on it, right? And their conclusion came down to it's genetic, right? Like, a lot of people, like, can put on contractile tissue better than others, and it's really can't really do anything about that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that's a great answer where it's like, I mean, it's another argument for like, that's why individualizing it to the person. Cause like you said, like I've known a lot of like buddies and stuff that like some people touch a weight, put a bunch of mass on, and then some people, they eat, 4,000 calories a day and they're struggling to put on weight. But I do think like there's a certain amount of like you can change your body type no matter who you are. And so it's like, who cares what the genetic factor is? And I like to think like we have some control over that. And then the more you do that, I think your body naturally gets to like homeostasis at certain weights and it's easier to hold those weights where it's a lot harder to, I mean, that's why I think, I don't know, my personal view on fitness is like put on as much muscle as possible when you're young, because it's going to be a lot harder to put on muscle unless you're taking a lot of PEDs or something once you're, 65, 70, 75. And at that point, it's like, hopefully you have strong legs. You're not falling down the stairs. Good grip strength is a big, important part on every study I've seen about, all cause mortality and, being able to pick up your grandkids. But that's all like great answers. I just wanted the stupid answer of like, how much muscle do you think you can put on? Yeah.
yeah.
20 more pounds, like 10 more pounds. How much weight do you think you personally can put on before like you hit a genetic? And obviously there comes lifestyle too. Like if you were, every single day locking in 100%, hitting 8 meals a day, hitting your macros exactly right, just a machine. Like, what do you think it is for you personally?
Me,
Both of you.
I'm like pretty much there. And I know that because I've been at this weight now since large, like maybe I put on like we're talking like ounces of muscle mass since college. Like I'm getting very slowly bigger, but like I think it's around this so my fat free mass would be I'm like mid 250s right now, or like 13% body fat. What's that? It's like 225 pounds of fat free mass. I think that's like I'm there. I think that's the max genetic capability
Max is
for
to the max.
Max to the max.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Jai? You think
Oh, I definitely
where you
think I
you can
think
be?
I definitely have a little bit more wiggle room, and more because I coming from that bodybuilding competitive background, I spent a lot of time staying very relatively lean, not really taking a full off season slash growth phase to like really put on a lot of muscle tissue on my body frame. And so I definitely think that if I were to like buckle down, have like a good off season, which now after kind of with the powerlifting and hurting my hamstring and everything, I definitely think that it would be a very beneficial phase for me to go into. Um, and so I definitely think I would say that probably get like 225 would be like the max cap I could hit and like be at a relatively lean body fat, 10, 12, 13% body fat.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? We got it. I mean, at least 200.
Yeah, Brian, 200 at least, dude.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, let's go. Let's get it. I don't know. That's the whole thing.
That's what I want to see.
Like
Yeah.
I spent my whole life in that like, I mean, I don't know. It's a weight class sport, right? So you never really could just grow as much as you wanted, but in the off season, you're trying to put on some weight, and naturally, I think as you get more physically mature, like you start putting on a little bit of weight, but um, never really been able to outside of maybe the last 6 months not have so much. Because even the last 2 years after college, it was like I was wrestling every day still, so it's pretty hard to put on mass when you're doing that much cardio. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's why hopefully 200, and then you two both have to run a bunch.
A chance.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think my
look,
growth phase would like me running.
yeah. My permanent lifestyle of growth phase.
Yeah.
I have a website up here, ffmicalculator.org. And then you can put in your height, weight, and body fat percentage. It gives you your FFMI. And then it tells you how likely it is you're natural. And basically above 25, it says suspicious. And then above 28, it says unlikely.
That's funny.
That's funny. Let's see. Ryan, how tall are you?
Eventually?
5'6".
Whoa.
I'm just kidding.
If this was a
I'm sorry.
roster, we'd say 6. No, I'm like 5'10".
Weight right now, we're gonna guess 185.
That's generous. I like that.
Body fat. I'm gonna give you. Do you think that's generous right now?
No.
I'm gonna give you what do we think body fat? Like 7% right now?
No.
8, 10.
I don't know. Like, I feel like that stuff is so hard to
All
get.
right. We're giving that range.
You got to go.
I'm giving you that range.
You got to do it.
8 to 10. Ryan, your fat-free mass is 24.74. So you're superior.
I'm not suspicious yet.
Not suspicious.
Dang it. All right. Now you got to do Jonny.
All right, Jonny. How tall are you? 5'11"?
Yeah, 5'11", 6 foot.
Which is it?
What do you weigh right now? I know Jonny knows to a pound. Johnny's in between. He's in between 5
I like
6.
sometimes I wake up at 6, sometimes I'm like 5'11", 3/4 by like the end of the
When
day.
I got
Actually during the day, that's for sure.
when I got cowboy boots on.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
winter time.
6'1".
Winter time, I walk at a solid of like 6'1 1/4" with them boots. Oh yeah,
That's right. What do you weigh right now, Johnny? You just got sick, but
yeah.
normally what do you weigh? Pre getting sick.
Pre getting sick, 210.
And what do you think body fat?
Probably like 12.
So Johnny is 25.81.
Dang it.
He's on the borderline of suspicious.
Now I'm thinking that maybe getting those extra 10 pounds might not be realistic.
I'm like 255 right now.
It's on the internet. It's got to be
Also
true, man.
Probably around 12. I am 28.48. Also unlikely.
That's awesome. Dang.
I'll take it.
All right, well,
We'll put I'm gonna put this in. We'll put this link in the podcast. I'm going to play around with.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll,
it'd be cool.
In the
we'll
notes.
see who's suspicious and who's not.
One thing I want to talk about that you said, Ryan, it's a good topic, is the impact of cardio and endurance training on putting on mass.
Yeah.
Because I think you are right. And like when it comes to like wrestling on a college wrestling schedule, that amount of endurance training and cardio is not conducive to putting on mass. Let's get that clear. But I think there is, and I'd like to hear Jonny and you, Ryan, your take on this. I think there is a pretty backwards view on cardio and putting on mass in general. So I know I have my take, but want to hear your guys' take on that topic.
Yeah, John, you got it.
Okay, I'll go first. I definitely think that doing cardio in a growth phase is something that can be productive, but it can also be counterproductive based on how much you prescribe, right? If you are doing daily steps, you go from doing 10,000 steps in a fat loss phase to doing 7,000 steps, not a big change, right? Your natural energy expenditure during the day of just fidgeting around, moving around, probably going to get a little higher as you eat more and you're a little more active. Now, if you're physically trying to be a hybrid athlete, right, and you're trying to put on muscle mass and you're running miles, you have to realize that there's a recoverability factor to that, right? And so if you are training hard in the gym, you're lifting weight 4 days a week, and then you're running 3 miles every day as well, you got to realize you got to be fueling your body adequately for that, right? I think to a certain extent, calories in versus calories out can get a little messy, and kind of there's like a gray line between it of like, well, which one is kind of true when it comes to how much you can eat and how much you can kind of increase your energy expenditure by doing cardio and not like mess with your metabolism. But I think at the end of the day, it's one of those things where if you are going to be implementing some sort of running or cardio during like a hybrid training phase, you definitely have to be fueling your body adequately, right? Because if your metabolism is naturally maintaining your body weight at 3,000 calories, and then now you added 3 days of 3 miles of running, well, now you probably put yourself into a deficit and you're not in the maintenance anymore. You got to make sure you're eating enough to sustain muscle growth and enough recovery during.
Yeah. I think it's a great point. I'm at the mindset of, I think it's super helpful. Like, I think having that extra cardiovascular effects, it makes lifting, when you're lifting hard, a lot easier. You recover a lot quicker between sets. You feel a lot better. But like you said, Jonny, I think keeping that in check. I know, like, especially just from wrestling, like you got wrestling shape, running shape, and lifting shape. And it's like, you can pick 2 out of the 3. You can't be like a jack of all trades with those. And so, when it starts, I don't know, if I'm running a lot, I know my lifts are, you're kind of spinning, even if you're doing everything perfect and you're getting the right amount of calories, you're kind of spinning your wheels. Cause you're signaling to your body to like pare down muscle, be lean and sleek and fast if you're running a lot. And then you're lifting heavy and you're telling your muscle, like, build muscle, get bigger. And so it's like conflicting signals. So I think you got to keep it in check. I think there's value in doing it, but also, like, especially in a mass building phase, you got to keep like heavy amounts of cardio in check. And that's why it's important to, I think, look at those week by week and how you're feeling, how you're recovering, how your body weight's changing, how your lifts are going. If you're able to increase your lifts, or if you feel like your legs are dead every time you're trying to lift because you're running a lot.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you guys both just said. You basically just stole my answers. But one thing I think it is, and I think particularly with running, so because I think you can tweak the kind of cardio you're doing to maybe make it a little more conducive to putting on mass. But when you run, there's actual skeletal signaling that's happening to like try and lose weight. It's like evolutionarily, humans, when they run a lot, your body's like, get rid of weight. When you put a heavy bar on your back, or so your body's sending signals not only through your musculature, but also through your skeletal system to like add mass. So if you're running a lot, that's really bad. I do think you can adjust the form of cardio. So you're doing like fan bike or even like shorter distance sprinting, where you can maintain the cardio base to be able to put on mass efficiently. I have noticed, and I think we talked about, I've had a natural ability to put on muscle mass, but I also think part of that was the fact I was always really in good cardio shape. Because when you are in good cardio shape, not only you're able to train harder, like you said, Ryan, you're also more metabolically efficient, which means when you do eat a lot, your body's going to partition that nutrition a lot better. Your insulin sensitivity is higher, which Coach Miller, I'll steal a coach quote from him. He's like, insulin and growth hormone shouldn't be called insulin and growth hormone. They should be called like traffic tops. So it's basically like, hey, go to fat or go to muscle. And when you're in good shape and you have that really good insulin sensitivity, your body's producing a lot of growth hormone, you're just getting a lot more going to muscle. So if you're in good cardio shape, like, I'll caveat, you shouldn't do too much cardio if you're trying to put on mass. But if you're not in good cardio shape, you're leaving mass on the table.
That's a fine balance right there.
I kind of want to pivot off of this too with nutrition, right? Because this is where you said nutrient partitioning and using insulin, right, to our benefit to recover and grow. I want to see your guys' perspective on this with nutrition, right? As something that we see a ton in today's society, which is everybody has a report card, right? We have A+ training, we have a B in cardio, and then sleep is like a C, and then macros and calories are like a D and an F, right? And so a lot of us think that we can get away without training, right? Our poor nutrition habits. And in reality, you're just stuck in a hamster wheel, right? Because you're just spinning those wheels around. When in reality, right, it's one of those things where if your nutrition is not that base foundation of a growth phase, right, and you're not eating enough, you're not providing your body or fueling your body adequately, you're pretty much just running into a wall. You're never really going to provide your body with what it needs in terms of adequate nutrition, right? And so with that said, what do you guys think is something that facilitates nutrition for you in a way where you can have a consistent base of nutrition?
That's a great question. And I totally agree. Ryan and I talk about that all the time. It's like, I think training consistently, and we actually, our first episode of this podcast was like the hierarchy of fitness. Like, you got to be doing these things before you're worrying about these things.
Oh yeah.
And like having good nutrition is like right up near the top. I think it's like literally training consistently. And then above the kind of training you're doing, it's your nutrition. With that, Ryan, what are some ways you stay consistent? Because Ryan you're really excellent.
Yeah, I think, dude, like it's like the 80-20 rule. I've always had dietitians like that throw that number and it's kind of like, oh yeah, like great. But when you think about it, like if you can I don't know, make sure you're prioritizing protein. And if you can eat like semi-similar breakfast, lunch, like I think those are super easy. Most people are busy during the day. Plan your breakfast. You eat that on your way, you go work out, go to work quick, whatever. And then lunch, if those are pretty much, you're within these macros for those two. And then you're planning like your dinners and your snacks around like good, healthy stuff. I think it's really easy to have a good foundation. And so I think the easiest way for me is like take the friction out of it. If you meal prep, it's a lot easier to make good decisions. Make it sustainable. Like I can eat the same thing over and over, but also it's a lot easier if I like have different spices, different sauces, like different stuff like that. So find whatever makes it sustainable for you long term, because if you don't like it, you're not going to do it forever. And if you just like, hey, I just can't wait to get off this diet, like that's not good. But if you're looking at it as like, this is my lifestyle, I feel good, I feel well, like I don't have brain fog when I'm working. I don't feel like junk when I'm about to, every time I wake up. I think when you see the value in that stuff, it's like, it's a lot easier to pinpoint like, oh, my stomach hurt after I had that donut. And so like, even as if it tasted really good for 2 seconds, like I'm like, it's just not worth it for me sometimes, maybe every once in a while for sure. There's some flexibility in diets, but, there's times where you're like, hey, I'm going to go get a good workout in. I don't want to feel like crap. Like I'm probably not going to eat, 100 grams of sugar of, just a bunch of junk and fat that's going to sit in my gut.
Yeah, and didn't you, I think it was on last episode, Ryan, you said, someone you were talking to was like, I don't have discipline when I eat, I have discipline in the grocery store.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is another great tip. Like just don't buy stuff you don't want to eat.
Yeah. If it's not in your house, you won't eat it.
Exactly.
Yep. It's like me and Zen. So if I don't buy it, then I can't.
Max is like,
if I buy it,
I like it, but then I don't buy it. I don't use it. It's like,
and then how many times do we also fall into these fad diets, right? Of where we see probably a lot of men who struggle with this, where it's like they might reach out for help and they're like, hey, I need a meal plan. And you're like, well, it's like, how can you sustainably live your life off of a piece of paper with recipes, right? If you are getting those, which in reality, a lot of times we do see a lot of these cookie cutter programs out there where they're like, oh, you're going to eat 2 eggs and a cup of oats for breakfast. And then lunch is like plain chicken, maybe a potato and a rice. And then dinner is a similar function, right? And it's like, can't really live like, it's kind of like I like what you said, Ryan. It's your lifestyle. It's not of like, damn, I want to get off this diet, right? It shouldn't be one of those things where like, I want to get off the diet, right? It's how can I optimize what my body needs, right? Whether that's 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 calories, and how can I fit in foods that I like, right? Because if your food tastes good and it's something sustainable for you, you can continue to eat that long term without getting bored, right? And it's not going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, I have to eat the same thing every day because my coach said this, or because now I'm on a diet and I'm trying to physically lose all this body fat. When in reality, it's like a meal plan just doesn't work for everybody, right? We have outliers, bodybuilding competitors, obviously wrestlers who need to make weight and eat a certain amount of food every single day. But to a certain extent, right? If you're somebody who's just trying to build more muscle, lose body fat, get in better shape, a meal plan really shouldn't be the first thing that you're focusing on. It should be, how can you find the foods that you enjoy and how can you have that 80-20 balance of 80% whole foods, giving your body the actual nutrients and macros from high quality foods, but still enjoying your life, right? Having a burger on the weekends that fits within your nutrition structure. And then you're right back at it the next week, right?
I think it's the old adage, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. teach a man to fish will eat for a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the meal plan is you're giving the man the fish, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if he does it and puts no thought into it and follows the meal plan, it will work. You will lose weight. But for all the reasons you just said, Johnny, it's not sustainable. And because you're not putting any thought into it, you're really not learning.
Exactly.
And I think that probably the most important thing for me and being consistent with my nutrition is I've learned what foods make me feel good, how to hit the protein target I need to hit to maintain the size I'm at. Like and it's been a process of 10 years. I'm still learning. But when you actually start to understand what the foods you eat do to you, what the different like ingredients do, what makes you feel good, why carbs are good, when they're useful, when they make you feel crappy, how fats affect your hormone production, when do you want to eat fats? Like and certain people are different. Like I know I don't do well with fats first thing in the morning. Some people love eating fats first thing in the morning. There's like an individual aspect to this too, but basically my long-winded answer is you got to learn about nutrition. Like you got to kind of develop that knowledge, and then you can start to develop your strategies for a sustainable diet and lifestyle. A meal plan will work. And like you said, especially for a weight class based sport like bodybuilding or wrestling, sometimes they're necessary.
Yep.
But you're not going to be able to live off of meal plan.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like we keep getting back to the same thing where it's like everything's individualized with, how you feel on stuff and how different foods affect you, how, different training plans affect you, what's sustainable for your lifestyle versus, somebody else's lifestyle. And then also, I think the education aspect is such a big point. And I think that's, part of the reason we're all passionate about this is like, I didn't feel like I learned this. I felt lucky because of wrestling. I learned this stuff. But it's also like, it's a constant growth of knowledge. Like one of the coolest things about doing this podcast is like, we get some really cool experts on and we get to learn and take notes and then go dive deeper into stuff. And then we're our own guinea pigs. And then it's like, hey, I can tell you what worked for me. You're still it might not work for you. You might need to try something different because you're a different person too. But there's common themes there that, work well for a lot of people. And, I think constantly figuring out how to optimize your life a little bit better. And the goal is, shoot for good, not great, because you're never going to be, perfect at everything. And I think you can over optimize stuff too, to where your life's miserable, but like you're jacked. And it's like, I don't think that's a good life either. Like you should be, hanging out with your friends and family and having fun and, short periods of time, maybe, right? If you're stepping on stage or, something like that. But you know what I'm saying? I think there's balance to it too. And that's why it's important to find what you value, what you're looking for, and what's the most, direct path for you to get there. And then educate yourself to be able to do that long term.
Yeah. Two points there, Ryan. And Johnny, looks like you had something to say. But one is, I bet you were lucky through wrestling to learn all this, but you also had to look for it. Because how many of your teammates still don't know anything about nutrition?
We had a 25 pounder.
And we're phenomenal athletes.
We had a 25 pounder that ate 4 granola bars all day because that gets 400 calories and it fills me up. I'm like, hey man, let's get you some chicken. Let's get you some oats or some rice. And sorry.
So it has to, and that point plays it is what works for you and individually and what makes you feel good. But there are some universal truths as well. Like you can't live on 4 granola bars a day or like certain foods, like not to say like you should never have it, but certain foods are just shittier for you and certain foods are better for you. Whole foods are good for you. Like there are universal truths. Now it's learning how to like balance that with like your palate and what you want to have. And that's kind of like part of the education is learning that balance. And I think that 80-20 is kind of that. I think it's good. I'd probably go more towards 90-10.
Yeah.
But
Max is an overachiever.
Do you really want to take it serious? Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I think the whole point here is understanding, right, that calories, your body needs them, right? Calories dictate whether you gain or you lose weight. And then kind of how Ryan said, right? It's the macros that determine how you look, right? Kind of like how you said, Max. It's so individualized. Some people do better with fats. Some people do better with carbs. You have a hard time putting on weight. Maybe you need a little bit more carbs versus fats, right? If you're somebody who puts a little bit too much fat on too quick, maybe you need a higher protein, moderate fat, lower carb diet, right? It really is all dependent. And then you go into that micronutrient component, right? Of, hey, keep it 90-10 for the best optimal results and feeling the best of like, maybe you shouldn't go to the gym and eat a donut before, right? Maybe you should eat a banana, maybe eat some granola, some oatmeal, some rice, right? And those things are going to fuel you with better micronutrients and better overall quality to make you feel better when you're training, when you're starting your day, right? And different components there. But at the end of the day, right, it's just one of those things where when you learn how to implement these different tools, you're learning how to fish by yourself and not you just getting a blank piece of paper that you're trying to live your life off of.
Yeah. I think it's a great point. I think it's a great way to wrap it. You like, I mean, Jonny, that's freaking hit the nail on the
That's why
head,
we
man.
brought you
You're the
on.
man.
Yeah.
We're so pumped to have you on, man. And yeah, this is super exciting stuff for Iron Summit. And yeah, it's a great start to it all. I know we've kind of been hitting on it at social media, but glad to officially have you on the pod full time.
Yeah, happy to be here and excited to grow this community and help a lot of our men out there who are trying to really bring their health and their wellness as something to the front of the burner versus keeping it on that back burner.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Let's get dudes jacked.
You got to cut it there, Mag.